able to avert unnecessary loss of lives as a result of these strikes. So what has been the effect of doctors' withdrawal of services at emergency wards across the country? We'll be telling you that on today's big story with me, Stephen Enti. The end of the working day is here and the ongoing doctor strike is still on, almost 12 hours into the day. Across the country, many patients are being turned away from critical emergency care as a result. At the Okomfo Teaching Hospital in Kumasi, desperate patients who needed health care were turned away.
They said there is no doctor available, so we should find another hospital. Fortunately, my sister is a nurse here, and she's asked that we wait for her. My mom's condition, as you have witnessed, is getting worse by the minute. So for now, I will wait until she arrives and pray she survives.
Let's get to Kumasi now, where Joe News reporter Erastus Asare Donko, who has been on the beat in the city, is joining us on telephone. Erastus, good evening.
Good evening, Stephen.
So, quickly, what's the situation at various hospitals in Kumasi as of this evening?
Well, I can tell you that nothing has changed as per the situation in the morning. We are still having patients in various critical conditions being brought in ambulances and taxi cabs, and they are being rejected. And what is so worrisome about this whole thing is that when they are brought in, they are made to sit outside for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and the ambulance attendants have to go inside the accident and emergency center trying to convince staff in there that they need to attend to this patient. And by all this time, you see the patient in there wriggling and fighting for life. And then with disappointment on their faces, they come back from the emergency center and then they get back into the vehicle and drive off. I have been asking one particular ambulance attendant just a short while ago. They brought in a patient from Seshi, and he was rejected after staying outside for close to 20 minutes. And I asked him, where are you taking him now? And in fact, tears welled up in the attendant's eye as he told me that I don't know. We are just running around and seeing if any private hospital will stabilize him. That's what he told me just about 20 minutes ago. And so that has been the situation since morning.
Right. So earlier visuals you sent us from Okomfo Teaching Hospital showed an elderly woman in a taxi clutching to life with her family members trying to offer her help whilst no doctor is helping her. Are you able to tell us, if you followed her condition, are you able to tell us what happened to her?
Well, with that particular patient whose relatives were trying to revive her, they stood there for close to 50 minutes, and it took a nurse from the hospital. They had a relative who was working there as a nurse, so they called her. She came in and convinced the doctors in there that they need to attend to her relative. And so after some time, they took her in and attended to her. But with the others, as you see there, the woman who was crying for her son in the taxi cab, they were rejected and they were sent back. I could not follow them to specifically where they were going, but I do understand that they've been running around from hospital to hospital, from private hospital to private hospital, trying to get help for their relatives.
That's very sad. Now, talking about private hospitals, were you able to visit a few? If you can give us updates, what's happening there too, in terms of numbers, in terms of availability of doctors and all?
I can tell you that the numbers are there, but these are very expensive places. You can talk about our new clinics, for example, Trust Care. These are popular spots. The KNUST hospital, for example, do not take visitors from outside. From outside, I mean, if you are not a student, if you are not a staff of the university, after 6, you are not being taken care of. And so, except emergency cases. And some of them have been trooping in there as well to seek help. But, you know, these hospitals are limited per the kind of equipment, per the kind of expertise when it comes to surgery and other things. And so it's not all the cases they are able to take care. I was there when they had to refer some patients to Confanoche Teaching Hospital for some major surgeries to be conducted immediately. But then it will surprise you, they get to the hospital and they are rejected. So you can imagine the dilemma of these people as they run around trying to seek help that is only available at the Confanoche Teaching Hospital.
Right, Erastus, before I make you go, I let you go. There are reports across the country that a handful of doctors and healthcare assistants have been helping at outpatient departments, and some doctors are even working at emergency wards. Is there anything like that at the Confanoche Teaching Hospital?
I can tell you I saw as many as from 5 to about 10 doctors at the Accident and Emergency Center in the morning. But I'm telling you, they are not accepting new cases. They only attend to people they know as fresh cases. So if you know any doctor in there, you call him, and then they come, they assess a case, they take you in, and they give you treatment. But then they are only attending to patients who have been admitted inside the Accident and Emergency Center. Aside that, all other sectors of the hospital have collapsed.
Right, Erastus Asare Donko, we're very grateful for your time on today's Big Story. Erastus is a Joy News correspondent with Love FM in Kumasi. And if you have been following the strike, doctors have been on strike for like 10 days now. And today they withdrew all services at emergency centers. And across the country, there are reports that a handful of them are actually attending to patients, just offering some form of help and care whilst these patients are in distress. Here in Accra, reporter Matilda Vemega was at the Rich Hospital to interact with some patients and their relatives who are obviously feeling the pinch of the ongoing strike.
Any penny hakesi, and so more mobile in Abisana Hoko. The young friend, a fiancana, your friend now motion.
A dear Motaiba Hospital, we are now in the name of first time over.
And any first time.
We do at 7 o'clock. Now, the buyer and trans and your fiancana, or my friend, Mobisano gate by until Oguso on a train. Na onyim na ne moje mu no am say wa short nti na yo Madina Kekele hospital clinic on wa ko am say wa short moja no and run or ko no am say nya akoye na yese am transfer ne ba ntano pe ne buy
na yere ne buy about 12 to 12:30 to 1 more. About first, any pen grab a billion. Maybe be a good mom bosom. My friend, your friend,
Well, you're watching today's big story. Meanwhile, at the Tamale General Hospital, management has been explaining that doctors who are still at post have a contractual obligation with the hospital to continue working and running the outpatient department of the hospital. Dr. Prosper Akambong, who is CEO of the Tamale General Hospital, spoke to our Northern Regional Correspondent Hashmin Mohammed.
We've had earlier meetings with the doctors of this hospital to appeal to them that we don't have the luxury of private hospitals in our part of Ghana here. So we appeal to the conscience of those who, based on their moral inclinations, religious inclinations, want to continue to render services, to come and render services. Some are responding, and as you heard yesterday, the junior doctors group declared their support for the GMA strike to embark on the emergency services withdrawal. We had to respond to that, so we had a quick meeting to see what strategies we put in place to make sure that at least some minimal amount of services can be rendered to the populace. You would recall earlier on that I indicated that prior to the GMA strike, the hospital engaged some group of doctors, about 10 doctors, on contractual basis. These are doctors who had passed their medical and dental council licensing, and then they were waiting for the appointment letters. So we engaged them on contractual basis to be able to render services to us. We had earlier on deployed these doctors to OPD to help beef up our OPD support until the industrial action started. It's not to say that those doctors are betraying the cause of GMA, but they entered into a contract prior to GMA's industrial action, and it is just honorable on their side to complete a part of the contractual agreement they had with the hospital, so that we can keep the contract still valid.
So how are you going to deal with the emergency cases at this facility now that we are learning that they wouldn't attend to emergency cases?
Yeah, that's why when you came earlier on and we were in a meeting with them, we agreed within our contract arrangement that we could deploy them anywhere for services. So we were discussing the way forward as to how we could deploy them to the emergency services area. We've reached some kind of agreement that is convenient to them as a group and also convenient to us as an institution to cover limited amount of emergency services, even from the OPD level to the accident emergency service level in various ways. So we work with this arrangement for now until we see whether we need to reconvene and re-strategize the way forward.
Right, so let's get onto the telephone lines now and speak to our Northern Regional Correspondent Hashmin Mohammed, who has been monitoring the situation on the ground in Tamale. Hashmin, good evening. Good evening, Hashmin.
Hello?
Yeah, good evening.
Hello?
Yeah, good evening, Hashmin. Can you tell me what the situation is on the ground in Tamale?
Well, I have been to the emergency unit of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, and I can report that doctors at that facility have resolved not to attend to emergency cases at that particular facility. Now, earlier this morning when I was there were a lot of patients that they were attending to. They were receiving new cases at that particular facility, but at the moment they have been able to stabilize the condition of those who have been brought under emergency situation, and they have transferred them to the various wards. Now, management of the Tamale Teaching Hospital this afternoon went into a meeting with the medical doctors.
Right. And
after that meeting, management reached an agreement with some doctors, about 10 in numbers. These doctors, by my understanding from the chief executive, Dr. Prosper Akambong, they have signed a contract with them so that they will remain at post and attend to patients in the consulting rooms, that is the OPD.
Right, so Hashmin, I get the impression that this is more like going against the directive from the Ghana Medical Association for doctors to withdraw their services. I mean, there being an ongoing strike, and today the strike was escalated escalated further and emergency services were withdrawn. So what are the doctors telling you as reasons why they're going against the directive of their mother association?
Well, these doctors are saying that they entered into that agreement with management of the Tamale Teaching Hospital before the directive from the GMA came into force. So for that matter, they cannot disobey the contract they themselves have signed. And so for that matter, they are going in the direction of the contract that they have signed with the Tamale Teaching Hospital. So if you visit the consulting room, there are doctors who are attending to patients. Now, the management are also trying to engage these same doctors in the emergency ward of that particular facility. So the situation at the Tamale Teaching Hospital is not so dire as like other facilities in the country.
Right. So, Hashmi, quickly, so are you able to tell me generally across, like the same question I put to Erastus Asare Donko, what's the situation at other private clinics apart from the Tamale Teaching Hospital itself?
Well, at the Tamale Central Hospital and then the Tamale West Hospital, I've been to these facilities, and some doctors are still attending to patients. They are divided. I spoke to one doctor on condition of anonymity, who tells me that yes, they are taking a risk because their members are telling them that in the event they involve themselves in any problem, GMA will not come to their rescue. So they are saying that it is a very difficult situation, and for them, seeing the patients suffering, they cannot just continue sit down unconcerned, and then the patients will be suffering. So some of them are saying that for them to enforce the directive from their umbrella body, then they will just decide not to come to the facilities. But at the moment, some of them are attending to patients in the various facilities.
Right, Hashmi Mohammed, we're grateful for time on today's Big Story. Hashmi Mohammed is a Northern Regional Correspondent for Joy News. If you're watching Joy News, this is today's Big Story. We're exploring the situation of the ongoing strike across the country where doctors have withdrawn emergency services at emergency wards. We'll be right back. Just stay. Welcome back. This is today's Big Story here in Accra. Interior Minister Mark Oyongo, who told the police hospital, has called on doctors to return to the negotiation table to avert needless loss of lives. Our reporter Emefa Ewenam Atiamwa Eli was with the Interior Minister and filed this report.
In apparent readiness for the possible increase in number which the hospital is likely to receive, temporary tents were erected with beds and other medical equipment fitted in them at a section of the hospital. Extra beds were mounted on the corridors to manage the number of cases coming in at both the outpatient and the inpatient departments. The newly constructed intensive care unit was also opened to attend to possible emergency cases. The Interior Minister was impressed with the contingency plans put in place so far and encouraged the medical staff, especially the doctors, to keep up the good work of sacrifice.
Many more people will be coming here as a result of the strike. But I'm satisfied that adequate preparations have been made to absorb or to take in many more people. And I want to commend the director of the hospital and all the doctors, the nurses, the staff for the sacrifices that they are making to save lives. Some of them, I'm told, have had to work 24 hours. And I want to commend them for the sacrifices that they are making. We will also be looking at ways of motivating them during this period. So I'll be talking with the director, the IGP, to see how best we can motivate these doctors and nurses who are doing overtime to save the lives of our brothers and sisters.
He, however, appealed to the striking doctors to return to the negotiating table.
Let me also add my voice to the several appeals to our brothers, the doctors in our public hospitals to return to work whilst the negotiations go on. Life once lost cannot be replaced. So I want to make this passionate appeal to my brothers and sisters who are doctors and who are on strike to return to work whilst the negotiations continue.
All right, let's get to Takoradi now and speak to Kweku Superpra, our correspondent there, to give us an update on the situation in Takoradi also. Kweku, good evening. Hello, Kweku. Hello, Kweku. Right, I think Kweku Superpra is not hearing me, but we're going to Takoradi, where we are also told that despite the call by the Ghana Medical Association for doctors to withdraw emergency services, there's still a handful of medical doctors who are still attending to patients who are in need of care, and we're getting onto the telephone lines to get our reporter Kweku Superpra to join us. Kweku Superpra, if you're there, can you hear me? Right, I think we're struggling to get him. We'll be right back, and we'll bring Kweku on, and we'll continue with our discussions. Right, let's return to Kweku Superpra on the telephone from Takoradi. Good evening, Kweku, and we're grateful. Hello, good evening. Kweku. Yeah, quickly, we have received reports that despite the call by the Ghana Medical Association for doctors to withdraw emergency services, a handful of them have been working and actually attending to patients. What can you report about that?
Yes, I can tell you that some doctors that I've been speaking to have been explaining that, in fact, when the Ghana Medical Association calls a strike, it is still within the decision of an individual doctor to say he would comply or not to comply. And so you find pockets of doctors within their consulting rooms. And of course, the GMA cannot and would not, from the understanding that I get from the doctors I've been speaking to, lock consulting rooms and prevent doctors from seeing patients or prevent doctors from attending to emergency situations. Because you realize, from the explanation that I have been giving, that it is just natural within humanity to help one another.
That's right.
So that if an accident happened on the N1, all of us will get out of our cars to want to help. How much more a doctor? So that if you find yourself in a hospital and an emergency case came up, it will be so inhuman and wicked for a doctor to say that he will turn his back to that patient because he doesn't have conditions of service. So you find within some of these hospitals, one doctor or two or three within their consulting rooms working. And within some of the communities, like if you went to Asankragwa or Azim or some remote parts of the villages, you realize that there's only one doctor there for about 4,000 people or 10,000 people. If that doctor goes on strike, that is doom for a lot of people. So within such areas, they do not have the luxury of options to say that they will go on strike. So most of them within such areas are working and are delivering services to the people.
Right, we are grateful for your time and for the short notice and the update there. So this is where we draw the curtains. And I must say that we were unable to get responses from the Ghana Health Service, the Ministry of Health, and the relevant authorities on this matter as the strike is ongoing. We were also unable to get the Ghana Medical Association to give us an update or feedback on the effect of the strike so far. My name is Stephen Enti. This is where we draw the curtains. Up next is Joe News Interactive.